we go into the Impact Zone, even though we're in Wrestle Zone. I'm confused while I say it, but it makes complete sense. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? This is your Impact Pro Wrestling post-show from WrestleZone.com. I am Kev Callum in Chicago, where the positivity rate with coronavirus is it's too high. And where it is where you are, it's too high. We hope you guys are staying safe, wearing your masks, and hoping we can get to the other side and get the good old needle in the arm, old shot in the ass, like the old days in wrestling. We got to get that good gas, right? Robert DeFelice is down in Tampa Bay, Florida. And then off on the East Coast is boss man Bill Pritchard. We have Impact Pro Wrestling, guys, and we have Turning Point this Saturday night on Impact Plus. Bill, we'll get into the show, but how is Impact Plus? I know you've been able to see quite a bit of it. I've seen it here and there and tried it out now and then, but it's interesting that, TNA and, excuse me, I'm still doing that, right? You get all your old TNA stuff, you get your Impact shows, but then they occasionally do these. They don't do one like every month. Sometimes they're on pay-per-view, sometimes they're on Impact Plus. Do you think at some point they go full-fledged with Impact Plus, or do you like them dipping in and out of both?
I would hope that they eventually go full bore with it, just because I mean, Fight is cool, so I think they're still going to work with them. Fight's very easy to access and cast and all that, but I really would like to see more integration into Impact Plus, just because. Is that a really loud car? Anybody hear that?
Yeah, no, that's me.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that a soundboard or is that real? Yeah, but I would like to see them use Impact Plus more. And I mean, they're trying to build an audience, yes, so they're going to keep free TV, build the pay-per-view, that whole thing. But I mean, Impact Plus is really for like the diehards that they end up hooking. And I think Turning Point's a better match card on paper than Bound for Glory was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and
as far as saying that.
We'll cover it. And another weird thing is, I just wish there was just a little bit more turnover from you get the $50 pay-per-view. And asking people now, pandemics and people out of jobs, maybe people feel like, hey, this is what I spent on wrestling this month. That's it. You just had AEW had a traditional pay-per-view with a big price tag tied to it. Maybe people are like, hey, I pay $10 a month for WWE Network, and that's it. So if there was a quicker turnover from that traditional pay-per-view coming out to Impact Plus, I'd be cool with it, And when you have all of that on-demand library, I think they could push that more. They did that tonight. They had like a classic match. They played like a segment of one with the British Invasion, Nick Aldis in there with Beer Money and Kevin Nash and Eric Young at ringside. I thought that was a cool throwback moment there. But let's get into it. Robert DeFelice, we have evicted the Rascals from Impact. We've heard about this for a while. It seems like the Rascals, the fun-loving, three-way, high-flying team is on their way out of Impact. It was kind of revealed earlier in this episode, and then they even acknowledge it making kind of like a farewell match for them next week.
Yeah, you said we heard about this for a while. This came out of left field for me. I don't know. I feel like they were a prominent team for Impact. They never gave them a championship run. I don't know what the deal is there.
Yeah, that's really weird, because they were always, even, and we're talking pre-pandemic, they were always the most over, like, mid-card level act for them. Outside of like a single star, the Rascals were very, very over, and the Independents, they're very, very over.
I think maybe it's a case of the guys see more opportunity on the indies, or maybe it's a swerve and we get to next week and they're not going anywhere. Who knows?
Bill?
That's where I was leaning yesterday. Like, we were talking about it privately, and I said, I think it's going to be some like hokey angle where, somebody else is some third party is going to be like, you guys are too stoned. Like, you're not leaving wrestling, just your little treehouse. But the way that everybody was congratulating them and like saying goodbye on social media makes me think, okay, it's legit.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was talk of all three of them. I think it was really like maybe Trey or Dez. Like, there was, and this was just like rumors, like Reddit, like, oh, he'd be really good for the TNT challenge, or he'd be good in AEW. But I don't think people were saying all three would be leaving. So yeah, that was definitely a surprise. And it just confused me during the broadcast, because they did that, and then they made the save, in the ring. So I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. And then they set up the final match that's not even involving the guys that they like ran out of the ring. It's just kind of like
I mean they save Rich Swann, so Rich Swann comes back and says, "Oh, you guys are leaving," and
let's wrestle for thank you for saving me by let's beating each other up next week.
Like, let me just pick this one guy from your 3-person team and take on. For people who aren't following Impact, basically imagine the New Day are getting broken up. They're gonna leave WWE. And someone says, "Hey, it's a farewell match. Why don't I just pick Big E, and I'll tag with him and then take on Xavier Woods and Kofi, and that'll be the farewell match for the New Day." And it just seems odd. I think next week we'll have a better idea why this is happening, or a little bit more clarification. There's something clunky to this. Like it feels kind of like a square peg in a round hole. And these guys are apparently leaving the show or something like that. So, I mean, is there a chance we see these guys pop up in Ring of Honor, AEW? Is that going to happen here?
Honestly, I don't have any new information yet. I've been trying to figure out what's going on. And like, again, it's not like they were involved in a really serious storyline and they brought them in to wrap it up. Like, if they were just going to leave, like, let them film something from home, like get creative, just because of the COVID implications. But I guess we'll find out more, or try to find out more this week. Maybe
this seems to me like maybe there's some interest from a company like All Elite. The only other major promotion I know they're working is Warrior Wrestling out in Chicago, and that's got a ton of AEW guys on it. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, look, we could use another high-flying tag team." God knows AEW does not have enough high-flying tag teams. So
I can see the Rascals getting lost in the shuffle there. Yeah,
but who really knows? It's all going to come down to what we see next week and moving forward.
Ring-a-ding-ding, let's get in the ring. Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rayne are together. Of course, Jordan Grace wanted to tag with Tenille Dashwood, but she's too wound up in herself, having Caleb, her official photographer, constantly take her picture and check her pictures out when she walks down the ring. Madison Rayne is very full of herself as well, even though she's on commentary. So they're going to tag team. This is just a prep for the upcoming Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. They're bringing the women's tag team titles back. They take on Havoc and Nevaeh, only to get crushed. A pretty competitive match until it just breaks down. Nevaeh and Havoc really put their foot on the gas and beat them up. Big pile drive finish here. Havoc and Nevaeh look pretty strong. Seem to be the most defined team going into this tournament. Later on in the night, Jordan Grace forces Tenille to ask her, "Do you want to join me?" I did enjoy that segment backstage. It was quite funny where Tenille made Caleb ask Jordan to join her as a tag team partner. Playful, fun, plays really into Tenille's character, gives Jordan a little bit something to motivate here. It didn't mean that they're exactly together as a team, obviously, because they need to get to something this weekend. Let me make sure this. Yes, we're going to have them in the ring on Saturday. I'm double checking the card here. Make sure that. No, we have Tenille Dashwood and Jordan Grace taking on Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. That'll be coming up here. And that begins next. The tournament begins next week, but they're doing this tag team match this week. So it's sort of confusing, but you think they're just kind of prepping us for women doing tag team matches again completely.
Well, I don't think it's all that confusing. I think it's Jordan Grace said, "I need to trust you. Let's do a match this Saturday." I assume they will win that match because there will be some "who shot Bravo" nonsense on the other end of it, and we will see where that goes. I think Havoc and Nevaeh need to win these belts. That's the feeling that I walked away from that tag match with. They look awesome. They should be champions. I don't know how much of a shelf life these belts have, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with them, and I hope that they put them on a team that can really go like Havoc and Nevaeh.
Bill.
I'm kind of like, I'm disappointed in the lack of a bracket or team reveal so far, because they announced it a month in advance. But based on what we know already, you have to think Havoc and Nevaeh are the favorites, just because they're one of the only two teams that are established. Like, you have to assume Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steeles is going to be one of the other two. And then outside of that, it's been kind of like a letdown. Like, I think they should do like a bracket reveal, a team reveal, play it up, like, do something. I mean, you're doing
they kind of did that initially when they did like the talk show segments with a lot of the women around the ring and various different things, but it really feels like this Johnny Bravo thing is just kind of swooping in anyone who doesn't have an active storyline. They're getting pulled into that. And
not even that so much. I just think they're either depending on people just to tune in for the tournament itself, or I think this weekend they have a set, or this following week, like after Turning Point, they have the TV tapings. So I'm wondering if they don't even have the bracket finalized,
or you have the COVID situation too, where you're like, why would we make a tournament when we don't know if we're gonna have to break up a tag team or something like that? So I kind of get some of that. So like when you think about it,
like at least like put out the bracket and then be like, okay, Havoc and Nevaeh are on this side, Tasha and Kiera are on this side. Oh, here's who else. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just at least put something out there. But if you're being proactive in not wanting to change the bracket too much, especially after what happened with Kylie, you don't want to get accused of like bait and switch, because people aren't going to say, oh, it's because of COVID, I understand this impact, blah blah blah. Like,
they won't be understanding. They'll bitch. That's what you're saying. Yeah, like real wrestling fans, they'll find a way to bitch. Don't tell me I can't bitch.
I do want to see, and I hope it happens, I want to see Taylor Wilde and or Sarita in the tournament, since they're like the team that was known for those titles.
I agree too. And I do like when they have kind of like veteran Impact talent, people that bring you back to the TNA days, people that bring you back to the Spike TV days. If they could have, especially I enjoyed that a lot in the Mae Young Classic. I enjoyed that in the Cruiserweight Classic when they kind of had people you hadn't seen in a long time and can feature them in sporadic matches. And that's kind of Impact's deal already. They only have a handful of people locked into long-term deals. They have a lot of people that kind of freelance in and out. I think this could be a great opportunity for them to reintroduce some available female talent or introduce completely new ones if they wanted to.
So you guys had Bill had spoken to Taylor Wilde earlier this year, who said she was supposed to be headed back to Impact. I think that would be a really cool move for them. And this is not a joke. What's Lacey Von Erich doing? Because Madison Rayne needs a tag partner.
That would be really cool. And one thing to point out, as far as maybe why Taylor won't be in the tournament, is she said, as far as like quarantining, and she's a real life full-time firefighter, so crossing the border and going into quarantine, like, it's not just I can declare myself an essential worker and go do a taping. Like, it'd be a lot involved, so it'd be nice to see her back. I don't know, I wouldn't count on it, but yeah, I mean, like, bringing somebody back like Lacey Von Erich would certainly get a pop, even if she's going to be used for a tournament. I mean, look at Cameron in AEW. Like, she was used briefly, and obviously she had other plans before COVID. But I mean, I think you can use somebody like that in a situation like that, where the longtime fans are going to get a pop, but then the newer people are. Lacey Von Erich was not known for her wrestling talent.
No,
but
she was known for being
still going to find out more about the history of the company.
Yes, she was not known for great in-ring work. She was known for walking out there and just being a strutting hot lady who caught your attention and kind of was had a personality. So I understand that, but Impact played to those a lot of the times, and sometimes it was very successful for them. Back in the ring, we had TJP versus Rohat Raju, the reigning Impact Division champion. If TJP didn't win this title match, he would never get a shot again at Rohit, as long as he held that X Division title. Very competitive, but Rohit, once again, finds a crafty way to get himself out of this match. Low blows him. TJP is hit in the crotch and can never challenge for the title again. Robert, what do you think of this? I can tell you, Hakeem Zayn, who's the alter ego of Rohat Raju, is a merciless killer. All right, I'll see him at AAW tomorrow on Alive. But Rohit Raju is just He is the chicken shiz of the chicken shiz, man. He's just finding ways to get in and out of matches. Reminds me a little bit of Jeff Jarrett back in the day with TNA, where he would just always have something. There was always the old Memphis cheat scrap, get the old wink, I'm smarter than you, point at the old forehead. I mean, it's not a super original character, but he plays it very, very well. He plays it very, very well.
He does. Here's one critique with Impact as a whole with their branding. I don't think the X Division title needs to be a thing. I think they need to rebrand this to something more traditional mid-card championship, because what is the X Division anymore? You know, high-flying wrestling isn't stuck to one division anymore. They had the intergender stuff, but that's fine. You did that in your world title picture as well. I would rename this belt. And as far as Rahit, great champion. TJP can't challenge anymore while he's champion, but he will have an open challenge this Saturday at Turning Point. Maybe TJP just puts on the suicide mask. Who's to say?
Bill, what do you think here? Is this just an opening for him to put? Do they do the reverse mask thing where someone takes the mask off and says, "I was TJP all along"? What do they do here?
I mean, it could happen. I think with, one of their top storylines being somebody getting murdered or attempted murder, somebody pulling a fake out to get a title shot is not that crazy. But I'm gonna agree with Robert as far as the X Division needing not a rebrand, but it's not the cruiserweight division it started as. So
no.
I mean, I almost see it more as like a TV title now.
Yeah, it does strike me as as a TV title. And they've had bigger guys take it on. It isn't just a small man's title, a cruiserweight title, under 205 or anything like that. They've had larger guys take that belt and use it for different things. But
it's X in name now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, X doesn't directly mean cruiserweight, but at the same time, it's just the X factor, a variable. I think they should push the no limits thing more.
True.
Or maybe emphasize anybody can win it. Maybe even have one of the ladies win it.
And have they done that before? I think they've done it at least once, right? Have they or no?
No, they never have. They did it with the world title, but they never put a female X Division champion out there.
All right, I was going to say, they had Tessa. Tessa took on the main world title here. Moving straight along, we had more of the drama of Johnny Bravo. Who shot him? He's still in a local medical facility. And Tommy Dreamer is still wearing a Sherlock Holmes costume, and he's still talking to all the creepy characters who may or may not have been at the wedding in which he was shot. Dun, dun, dun. They have all their sound cues. What do you think of this angle? It's very, very ridiculous and silly. It weaves in a lot of different characters. It does feel like thick, long-term storytelling, but quite ridiculous storytelling. And at the same time, I'll say that Impact has done a good job where it doesn't feel confusing. It does feel like they are connecting all the dots. There isn't any loose ends. They do have some good story cohesion from week to week. But is it just too ridiculous for you getting this far into it?
Listen, the payoff for this better be something decent. Because if it's just an LOL TNA, they have such a small window. And Impact is a great brand. They have such a small window of opportunity with their audience that I think leaning too heavily into this stuff is a bit too cheeky. I know Wrestle House was kind of a hit for them, but I don't know if I would have brought this to the Impact zone.
It worked as an isolated, pre-filmed haha thing.
Maybe if you were gonna do the whole Who Shot Bravo, maybe you should have had the wedding at Wrestle House and kept it in this universe. Because as cheeky as that is, you can at least say, okay, it's a separate universe from the wrestling product that you're seeing in the Impact zone. That's just my take on it.
Bill, can we confirm that cheeky is the word of the episode today? It's the word of the day. Cheeky. I like that word. Do you like that word?
Yeah. I agree that the payoff needs to be good, just because the wedding, like that whole thing was ridiculous and entertaining. And then the past 2 weeks, it's kind of just been like, whatever. Like with the exception of the James Mitchell interview interrogation, I just kind of been like, all right, get to some kind of reveal. And Dreamer's been great, so I'm not too worried about that. It's just if they think they're going to drag out this investigation and not like eliminate a suspect for 10 weeks or however long, like people are just going to start losing interest. So they should definitely eliminate somebody by now, or like I'm surprised nobody else has gotten shot yet. Like that's what they should. I said this, I think last week. Like they should be picking people off, and then like I don't know. I think it would be hilarious if like Dreamer did it and he was just like
dragging the whole thing out.
Like I'm hardcore, like EC dub.
Can you imagine that being the payoff? Like I did it because I'm hardcore. That's it.
They wanted to do. Didn't they want to do something like that in ECW at one point?
No. That was a real life like that. Okay, maybe I shouldn't joke about that anymore.
No, but wasn't that like a legitimate
Dreamer
thing?
said he like thought about like
shooting
that
Paul.
He's thought about doing that to Paul Heyman.
Oh no, he thought about doing an angle where he would get shot in the leg, like he would legitimately get shot in the leg or something like that.
Listen, ECW is a different world.
I know the other thing he's talking about, but I remember Dreamer saying like after the fact, like he had this other idea about maybe it was like the same story but told at 2 different times. But like,
I just remember him like saying this was like a thing we were gonna do. We got close to doing it, we just didn't end up doing it. Where somebody got shot at a live show, like somebody would get shot, and I was just like, "What are you talking about? How could you even get on TV?" But I guess Impact is trying to do something ridiculous like this and almost spoofing it at the same time. Chris Sabin was in action against Larry D of Team Triple XL. AC Romero at ringside, slamming into him as well. And Sabin on his own here. And he is able to pull out the win while he still waits for his teammate to come back from that devastating pile driver on the ramp at Bound for Glory at the hands of the North. Storyline seems to be Sabin trying to go it alone. Can he go it alone here? What did you think of this? And they're still trying to remind you that the tag team partner is off on the side, but here is Chris Sabin back once again on his own.
I mean, the big story is James Storm coming to help him out. I'm not really into this angle that much. I mean, the best part is that they're trying to establish Triple XL, but I'm not like into it that much. But as far as Sabin and Storm teaming up, like that's pretty cool because they're like, you know, they're part of 2 of the most established and decorated teams in TNA history. So I like that angle. I like that they're doing something with Triple XL instead of having them be the funny fat guys like in Wrestle House.
No, they're like a serious wrecking crew type team, which I think any
is
wrestling
missing
show
in wrestling.
Yeah,
like you haven't seen
missing.
That. You haven't seen that on. You haven't seen that on a large scale for an extended time since I would even say the Natural Disasters or 3 Minute Warning.
Yeah.
So I like that, but right now I don't really think like them picking on Chris Sabin, who's by himself, is like all that interesting. But I like that James Storm is the one coming to help him, even though
they have a fun interaction with, you know, like Sabin with them doing the beer bit and like, you know, Storm just being this larger than life personality and trying to like get Sabin to calm down a bit. I enjoy the interaction. I enjoy when people kind of pal around a little bit and they aren't expecting that initial like, come on, get out of your shell type stuff. I enjoy that. It was there's something there. There's a there, if you will.
I think James Storm is a get for any promotion. This may just be my age because I fall into that age range of like when James Storm was a thing. But I think he is somebody that has been slept on for far too long in wrestling. The only thing I didn't like about this was that Sabin beat them both in a match by himself. Yes, they beat him down afterwards, but he did prove that he can be the guy to take down on his own.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
it
what
was
favors.
with an Inzaguri too. Like
That's right.
not like nothing against like I like the step up Inzaguri as a move, but that thing's been so watered down over the past years that like he hit him with a regular standing one, and then he hit the one from the corner, and it's like he's a big dude. You should like if that was a Royal Rumble, you would have had to hit him like 5 times, and he'd do like that, and,
Teetering, yeah,
teetering. There you go. There's our other word of the day. But
cheeky and teetering. If you're following along and you have your bingo card at home, you can check off teetering.
I would like to see Storm stick around. He said it's only like he said this before the episode aired. Somebody asked him like, "What are you doing with Impact?" And he's like, "I have one more," and he didn't say what one more was. So you have to assume Turning Point is just the one more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to see him stick around. Like I don't know if he's still holding out on WWE, but I mean he lives in Tennessee, or he's from Tennessee. Impact's taping in Nashville. Like, if you want to work and stay in front of a national audience, and it's a lower risk than flying all around the country, like, go do Impact. Like, I can't speak for him, but I want to see him there.
Especially if they're not locking you an exclusive deal. Sabin and James Storm take on Team XL this Saturday on Turning Point. So they kind of built to that match fairly easily, a short-term build. And at the same time, Impact hasn't invested so much where it feels like they're going to be losing something if Storm is out the window pretty soon here. Other developments, Chris Bay comes out to the ring looking like $1 million, has his ring jacket that still shows his abs, right? Because you got to show when you got those abs, you can't hide those abs, right?
Right.
He gets in the ring with the hardworking man who's never given up the fight. That's what his theme song's all about. And they have a banger of a match. I thought this is one of the better matches in the show. And it doesn't turn out the best for one Chris Bay here, but the post match was a little bit more interesting, wasn't it? Here, as this sets up a kind of two-sided issue here. Bay gets a chair. Out comes Sammy Callahan. Out comes Ken Shamrock. Out comes Rich Swann. There's a lot of multiple times. It's got a little bit confusing for me here. I don't know where things land. What do you think, Bill? Talk me through this one here, because I know we have Sabin. We have Sammy Callahan and Shamrock as a squad here. They did the bit where they were almost gonna smash someone's head with the baseball and the steel chair, like they infamously did with Eddie Edwards and Sammy Callahan some years ago. Where does this end up? Is this a multi-man team situation? Where does Chris Bay land? He's hitting people with chairs. People were cheering him not too long ago. Lay this out for me. This one felt a little. There's a little too many cooks in the kitchen on this one for me.
I like that they're doing something with Bay other than just trying to keep him in the X Division picture, because it felt like once they hot potatoed the title, like he might be, floundering or just running in place. But I like the idea of Sammy Callahan kind of being like a Kevin Sullivan, like starting his own Dungeon of Doom style faction where Shamrock's the monster and just, he's not a very big guy, but he's a fighter. And then if he gets
he's the most dangerous man in the world, bro.
Yeah, and if he gets in Bay's ear, and then if he gets in somebody else's ear, just being like a master manipulator, I think he really works well in this role. Like you don't have to try hard to hate Sammy Callahan. Yes. And he flourishes in that role. So, I mean, if you're going to have all these guys, like same thing what they did with Wrestle House, they're taking all the talent that they're not using on the in-ring part and doing something creative with them. So why
making
not
them supporting characters outside of the ring? And
so why not do that with everybody now that they're back in the arena? Like, just have him have his own stable of like, kind of like an Island of Misfit Toys sort of deal.
His own digital Dungeon of Doom. That's right, because he's on the internet, right, Robert? Right?
I'm gonna skip past any Dungeon of Doom references here. Callahan is like the anchor for this company. So this company was built around like 5 people last year, and Callahan's the one dude that's left. So he's a good person to keep in your main storyline. I would even say he should beat Rich Swann. I think there's more interest and money in Sammy Callahan as the top guy. Chris Bay is the guy you're building towards for the future. He grew up watching TNA. He's in Impact. He's probably one of the only people who would love to run with the ball for this company. So he's a good guy to build. I like where this is going. I like that Shamrock's still being used. I missed Eric Young this week. But, we'll get to see where this plays out. Right now, I like the pairing.
This was still a really good show, and two things of note: no Eric Young, no Heath.
Yeah, and those are two big players for them.
Show.
Yeah, I mean, and there was only like one kind of fluffy tag team match. I mean, they had Falaba in there with the Reno Scum tag team. Reno Scum won. It was a short, easy match for Falaba and Crazy Steve. But even that match was kind of like, it was fun. It didn't feel like worthless, I will say this, every kind of match seems to have something to it in Impact, and they do a very good job with everybody. You mentioned these secondary roles, people that are on camera in some way. It means more, and maybe just it's perception though as well. The same way that people say this with AEW, where no one feels super worn out like they do in WWE, where you just kind of see so much of it every week. So I do mention that when you mention it with kind of supporting characters, that means a lot. Sammy Callahan challenges Rich Swann for the Impact World Title this Saturday on Turning Point on Impact Plus. We get to our main event. This is more of the popular characters, certainly characters that people are talking about, and characters that have their own separate pay-per-view, which is completely comedy-based. We got to talk to one of these characters involved in the main event. As we get to our main event for this week's Impact, Josh Alexander with Ethan Page of the North at ringside against Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, the Good Brothers at ringside. Single match here. Challenging match, back and forth, playing off the stun gun. Carl Anderson gets the win, but this breaks out into a brawl at the end. These two teams will fight for the Impact World Tag Team titles this Saturday only on streaming pay-per-view. And of course, we also have the Talkin' Shop-A-Mania that'll be this Friday. So plenty to get into with these guys here. What do you think of the main event, Robert?
This was fine. Good match for what it was. I am adamant that they need to put the belts on the Good Brothers. These dudes were smoking hot going into Slammiversary. They released this tell-all interview where they basically call Paul Heyman a liar. They do all these things, and then you have them come to Impact Wrestling, and then you do not nothing, but a lot less than what I thought they would be. I thought these guys were going to be the focal point of TV for the next 6 months, and they really haven't been.
They're in the main event, Robert.
They're in the main event of this show, but they were nowhere near the main event of Bound for Glory. I'm not knocking them, but I'm just saying, like, they could do so much more with these guys. These guys are huge. Look, we saw Don Callis at AEW. Is this opening the door for the Good Brothers at AEW? These are the guys I would like to see this show built around, just because they have that value that stretches so wide in the industry. I think it starts with putting the belts on them on Saturday, and we'll go from there.
I think they need to win the titles before fans cool off on them. Outside of just wrestling, like, you kind of have to think, and we said the same thing about the Young Bucks, like, oh, they have a book coming out this week, so they're going to win the titles. So is it going to be the same thing for Talkin' Shop-A-Mania? Are they going to win the titles? But yeah, I think they need to win sooner than later. I don't think they should drag it out until Hard to Kill with, I think they can go back and forth with the belts, but I think the Good Brothers need a win at this point. And just a side note to the AEW stuff, I wouldn't be surprised to see FTR show up in Impact, because they've been talking about the North and FTR having a match. So,
whoa, what's going on here? Because you're connecting some things I was going to bring up to you before. You jumped the gun here a little bit on me. Jumping the gun. So many gun storylines.
Yeah. I don't think it would be a surprise to see them. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but yeah, I would think. I would think, especially if Don Callis is at your pay-per-view, you're going to be like, oh, hey, by the way, remember this exchange? Like, that'd be a pretty cool idea. Both companies say their doors are open, and AEW is already working with the NWA, so maybe it's just a handshake agreement where, the Good Brothers and FTR have some kind of feud, or FTR in the North has a brief feud. I think it's good for wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's better for Impact to get that rub. You've seen it's the I mean, the United Wrestling Primetime thing is what NWA has, but that's a collective of other talents and other promotions that are contributing to it. And AEW obviously has said they're open to collaboration, but they're never going to completely co-promote. But obviously they have no problem bringing in other people on like isolated dates. They don't lock everyone into contracts. Impact's sort of doing the same thing. They're all operating essentially the opposite of what WWE does, where if you're with us, you're with us. That's it, you know? And so it's interesting. Obviously, I think a lot of people want to see the Good Brothers do something with their old elite buddies in what you can see here. If FTR shows up on Impact, that means the Good Brothers are going to show up at All Elite at some point. Robert, what do you think of this here? We had Don Callis show up at the recent All Elite pay-per-view this past weekend. There has to be some type of collaboration. If your executives are showing up on commentary and JR is saying, "Hey, you guys do a good job on that Impact show," you know what I mean? Like that's.
I think that's
and AEW is a huge show. That's a big platform for Impact to be on. They haven't felt that big in a while, even if they just get a sliver of that little promotion there.
I think that's Jim Ross doing proper business because JR knows what he's doing. Don Callis is very close with Kenny Omega. Don Callis is very close with Chris Jericho. The North and FTR want to work together. The Good Brothers and the Young Bucks want to work together. There's too much here to not do something. And I even said something privately regarding potential with the video game that I think would be really cool. Like, why not have Impact wrestlers in the AEW game? Why not have an Impact Wrestling set in the AEW game? It's an easy way to pad out your video game roster. Mm-hmm. It's an easy way to further, income for all. It's just there's too much here to not do it.
Do a short-term licensing deal and just
maybe not even that short term. Like, you don't know how far the extent of their partnerships reach. They have a partnership, whether it's a name only, with the NWA. Mm-hmm. There's Serenity, Thunder Rosa. There's so much happening here that I think it can all really benefit the business.
And it all looks like some people want to work together in limited ways, but very selectively. So definitely a lot to see there. Impact Plus, what is that? It's $7 last time I had it. It was like $7. Get it on and off. So that's where you can get Turning Point this Saturday. What's the big match you think that's a selling point on this show, Bill?
North Good Brothers.
Yeah, I do think it's North and Good Brothers. I do think that's a big match. They're doing Moose versus Willie Mack on that. That's a match that's been them attacking each other, doing Brian Myers versus Swoggle. They have other things on it, but it really is North versus Good Brothers. I agree with Robert. This is the time to, for lack of a better phrase, pull the trigger and make these guys the champions. But the thing is, the North just got those belts recently. But I also think the North is a talented enough team where they can take the hit, they can get those belts back. I do think they need the notoriety. This is the Good Brothers weekend. They have their own comedy pay-per-view with Talking Shop. Then they get the crowning moment in the legit serious ring. I think it's the right way to go. They have the following. I don't think there's anyone more popular than the Good Brothers right now in that's in Impact Wrestling. They have that momentum. That's the way to go. Pretty decent episode Impact Wrestling all around.
But here's what I will say. The match I'm looking forward to is the no disqualification women's championship match, or knockouts championship match.
Yes.
Between Deonna Purrazzo and Su Yung. Because yesterday we saw Kimberly get completely taken out by Su Yung. And I think this falls in line with the Rascals leaving. She's married to Zachary Wentz. I think that this might be the end of Kimberly in Impact. And I think Deonna gets his belt back.
And that Su Yung was just having it in a temporary way to get themselves.
Oh, yeah, because they had the issue with Kylie. So what better way to pop something by, hey, you got a new champion? All right, let's correct course. Deonna's back in the saddle. Deonna Purrazzo still the top women's wrestler in the country, in my opinion. And the Impact scored a big one by getting her to sign an exclusive deal.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Kimberly, the henchwoman, being taken out. They do the takeouts, or somebody gets attacked backstage and they're just found and they're not going to be in the match. And that's what you kind of have to be left to assume. I like that they did this and there was just a sign on a glass door and
Kimber falling down the door and it said, "I think we're alone now." I was like, "Oh, dude, yeah, more Tiffany pop culture lyric."
Dude, you know why that was so that worked because you went right to that reference, but I just started watching Umbrella Academy, and that song plays in the first episode. So I was like, that's a nice connection to make.
Umbrella Academy. That's Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance.
Yeah,
his comic book, and then it became a Netflix show. Is that any good? I haven't checked it out.
I put off watching the show because I read the comic, and I was like, I want to put enough space between the two where I'm not comparing them immediately. And I literally just started watching it yesterday, and in the first episode, there's like, it's not a spoiler, like the dad dies, and they're at the house, and the one guy puts on the Tiffany song, and they all start dancing, and it's like this cool little sequence. I'm like, all right, like
I would put the song on now, and all of us could dance. But there's,
but like this is why, like I love the comic, and this is like that was kind of the moment where the show clicked for me. Because up until that point in the first episode, it was a little weird. Like, I don't know what they're going for. And then as soon as they did that, I'm like, okay. And
Victor Nash is watching live with us. He says he wouldn't be surprised if Eli Drake would make an appearance at this weekend's Turning Point show. They do have an open challenge. There are some open people out there available that aren't locked into deals. That would be something to happen there.
He didn't leave on good terms.
No, he didn't. Yeah. He did not leave Impact before on good terms. So I don't know if that's going to happen exactly.
I mean, I'm sure crazier things have happened. I'm sure they'd be cordial, but I don't see it happening.
Tell me about Talking Chopamania 2, Night of the Blank Torturer. I'm not going to get in trouble for that. This is on Fight. What a weird weekend to do this, where you have a traditional pay-per-view on a Friday. It's like, I think it's $13, $15 they're doing. 15, and that's on Fight.tv. And then the next night, you jump over to Impact Plus. Good Brothers is getting ridiculous again. They've been promoting this. We have an interview drop. Is that dropping today with Doc Gallows?
Yep, it should be about an hour or two.
All right, so
ready to go. So
if you subscribe to our video feeds on Facebook or YouTube or our audio podcast feed, go ahead and do that. Oh, thank you to the people who have been listening in Australia. We've gotten a bunch of new Aussie fans that are listening to the podcast, so thank you to them. I appreciate that. This show was so ridiculous when they did this before. If you don't know what it is, it's basically like Talking Shop, the podcast from Carl Anderson and Luke and Doc Gallows, saying Luke Gallows. Where they're goofing around and they have all these impressions and characters that they did on a podcast and now make them wrestlers. It's basically like almost like an R-rated Southpaw regional wrestling to a degree, in that they have made their own character of ridiculous characters. They're going to have Retribution. This is a faction, Robert, all of that's spoofing Retribution. But all the members of this faction apparently have irritable bowel syndrome.
Gallows told me that it's one of two factions, and he said that one of them will be very obvious, so I think that's the reveal. And then I'm allowed to talk about a little other spoiler. I had mentioned where we were talking about like the reception to it, and I said, I think you're in a good place if the biggest complaint or concern people have is if the ball in the ball for a ball match is CGI or practical. And he laughed. He was like, here's a little spoiler for you. It's practical. So you're going to see real balls.
Real balls.
Okay.
Robert, that's Robert of the show. Robert doesn't want to spend his $50 on Friday night. He's going to see real balls.
I want to see a man get neutered.
That ball for the ball is between, of course, these ridiculous sidekicks. Sex Ferguson, the old good brother working the territories, get the gas station dick pills, as he would always say.
Why are they making people pay money for this? Put this on for free.
I mean,
the whole idea is it's the worst pay-per-view ever.
People will do it, or
I guess it's like, will you bite? Okay,
but maybe people did it before. People bought the show before this time. Yeah.
Next, Talking Shopomania 3, it's going to be 2 balls.
It's 2 balls. Both balls. Both balls.
Take your balls and go home. You know what I mean?
Talking Shopomania 3, all balls. It's gonna be all balls are on the line. Yes, a ball for a ball match between Chad Too Bad and Sex Ferguson. And a bunch of do they have any other exact big matches that are announced for this that we can kind of talk about?
Yeah, there's Chico El Luchador and Chavo Guerrero are having a Lucha Libre death match. They're continuing their feud with that one, and trying to think of the guest list.
I understand that
he said Virgil's going to be there.
Yes, I've heard some Virgil
stories. There, can't remember her name. Annie Cruz, an adult film star. He said she's going to be there. There's a bunch of cameos. Like, yeah, you could. I'm giving away most of the interview, but watch the interview later. But
yeah,
it sounds like quite the lineup. Very eclectic. So
and you're going to have those surprise cameos and stuff like that too. That they
check out the interview. Check out Talk Shop Mania on Friday. Nice little weekend ahead.
Yeah, nice little fun weekend here, popping up here with a lot of different things. Seems like we have a pay-per-view almost every weekend, the month of November, I think. So we have Survivor Series next weekend.
Right? Yes, we do.
Yeah. So and no takeover. We thought we were gonna get a War Games takeover. So there we are.
Actually, I just realized that.
Yeah. So
December 6th.
No.
No. They've
announced that. I can say that, right?
They did, or PW Insider?
Well, okay, PWI did.
Somebody did.
It's not officially War Games, but December 6th, you'll get something.
Okay,
yeah.
So December 6th, we're getting an NXT show. All right, break it up. Break it up. Don't do them all in the same weekend. Yeah.
I like the standalone just because, like, selfishly speaking, I kind of want both nights of my weekend free.
Right.
I don't really want to. I don't like doing wrestling 7 days a week.
It's not easy.
No, it isn't. I think it burns out fans too. It burns out fans, and this is just us having WrestleZone. We're always tied into this stuff, and we kind of see it from what fans are reading and wanting to follow up. And sometimes you see a surge of people reading about an Impact show because they just decided, I'm going to watch AEW and WWE pay-per-views this month, but I'll go and check out what happened at their show or follow up on it or something like that. And then you see sometimes that check out with a WWE show too as well. When it was like a big playoff football weekend, we would sometimes see those numbers as well, where you hear from fans and like, I'm just checking to see what happened, what I missed. So if you are in that camp, we got you. We got you. WrestleZone.com. We'll have all this stuff covered live in real time. Give us a follow on Twitter and Facebook if you haven't already. And for Facebook people, like our page, follow it. So that's how you get the notifications to know exactly when we go live, when we pop up with shows like this. And definitely check out the past stuff we've already posted. We did a bunch of exclusive files. I just spoke with John Ryman. Very, very great name in the world of wrestling. He wrote for The Tonight Show. He had some very, very fun stories about writing for WWE and what it's like to work with Vince McMahon and how he's not this evil man that people want to make him out to be. So we had some very good insight on that conversation. Robert and I got into the possible effects of this vaccine we're supposed to get from a major pharmaceutical company and what that could do, and does that time frame work for wrestling, because people are constantly asking us about it. But all of those things are for you to consume. We literally are launching a channel here, Bill. At this point, we're producing enough content for a Patreon, but we're not asking for a pay window. No pay window. We're not Mance Warner. All right, you just come and we give it to you. All right, we're just handing out great content all the time. Are we giving it away for free? I've become a car salesman.
Nothing wrong with companies that use pay windows.
No, I support that. If there's good content out there and people want to see more from it, or just highlight some stuff that's going on, like after we hang up, I'm going to continue watching the Jim Hurd interview on adfreeshows.com.
Great interview
last night. So
great interview.
Is it good?
I didn't watch too much of it, but it's like being highly praised.
All right.
So it's like an hour and 45 minutes. So it's meaty. So I can't wait to watch that. And staying on that note, Ad Free Shows has a ton of content for people. And then there's other Patreons.
Hey, man, we're getting into those winter months. We're still waiting to get out of this. I think we're going to get another wave of digital content for people to consume. So
put it this way. They have content that literally we can't provide. Conrad has networks that just I don't know.
He's on another level, man. We saw it firsthand at StarCast and what he's able to do. So kudos to him and the whole team that are working on that. A lot of people.
I don't have Jim Hurd's phone number. Put it there.
No, he doesn't. He seems to have everyone's phone number, man.
Maybe Dom does.
Dom
knows everybody.
Dom
is Terry Funk's personal DVR.
Dominic D'Angelo, WrestleZone. Shout out to you, buddy. All right, we're going to get at it. Once again, give us a follow on all the socials. Let us know what you thought of the show if you watched on demand. If you really liked it, just hit the like button, give it a share. Or if you just want to listen to it, I want to watch part of it, but I want to listen to it, go get the podcast feed. Available on Spotify, Apple, all those good apps. You're looking for that red WZ logo. It has been heavenly since 1997, great since 1998. You remember sneaking off and running to read us in the computer room at your high school? Well, WrestleZone's been there ever since, man. Thank you guys so much. Robert D. Felice. Give him a follow on the Twitter machine at Dude Felice. Robert, what else are you doing?
I'm doing a Smart Guy Moment today. We're going to break down some fun Survivor Series team ideas. That'll be up on the Smart Guy Moment YouTube channel later today. Did a Patreon for them for Super Tuesday in 2002. Doing a review of that. Doing a review of Survivor Series 2002 over on their Patreon. Did a video yesterday with Sean Ross Sapp and Jeremy Lambert talking about the AEW Games reveal. And I'll be on Fightful all weekend long, and I'll be on WrestleZone the rest of the days of the week. So there you go.
Bill, you are currently watching Umbrella Academy. What else are you watching in your plugs? What else? What other shows would you like to plug?
Yeah, shout out to Netflix. I know they need the support.
Shout out. They need it. They need it.
If I can help them out in any way, I'm going to watch
businesses. You know,
support small businesses like multi-global video service.
I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch the Jim Hurd interview. Watch all of our stuff.
Yeah.
Before you watch Netflix, before you watch ad-free shows.
Yeah, and if you're out, we're the perfect show for you're out and about, man. All right, you just pop us on. You just want some wrestling. You don't actually scroll through anything. Put the podcast feed on. We're right there, baby. We got you. We got you.
And bookending it, I'm gonna watch Wilde on Taylor Wilde's show. I like that. I like watching that every week. It's a nice.
Tons of
short
stuff.
watch. She has some really cool guests. I know she had Samoa Joe on, and I'm drawing a blank. I forget who she had on last week.
Speaking of Samoa Joe, I know we're nearing the end here. Most reaction we got on this weekend, obviously with the election news, was I don't know if Bill, did you do this? Did you do this Photoshopping?
Yeah.
We got a lot of angry response, a lot of ha ha ha, a lot of people saying you got butthurt responses when we edited Joe Biden, the president-elect. That is true. Okay, we can confirm. President-elect. We have gone to the WrestleZone news desk that is on the other side of my bed behind me, and we edited in Joe Biden on top of Samoa Joe's head, holding the United States Championship. And a lot of people had a lot of reactions to that. So if you want to share that with somebody, it's over on our Facebook. We're out of here. Remember, when watching wrestling, the most important thing to do, Robert, tell them what it is.
Bitch on Twitter. Bitch on Twitter.
Bitch on Twitter. All right. Yeah. It's bitch on Twitter.
You know what? There's that. And when you don't want to do that, you enjoy wrestling.